Are we live? We'll do it live. Welcome back to For the Win podcast, your number one source for all things Xbox. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We got a lot to talk about today. Lots of new additions to Game Pass coming these next few weeks. I think 9 new games. Also, there's been some controversy around the new game dropping on Game Pass called Evil West. And IGN is doing IGN things again. And then also, the dust is settled. We talked about it last week, how we were going to get into it and see what went wrong and what's going on. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, been a nightmare. Halo Infinite just dropped a huge network update. Starfield got an update. Stardew Valley, lots of stuff. And so we're going to get into it here on For the Win. But before we do, we got to talk about flamethrowers because this episode is sponsored by superscorcher.com, home of the Super Scorcher, the best on the market. I can say with full confidence now. We've done our research. We've looked around. It is the literal best available replica of Elon Musk's infamous Not A Flamethrower, crafted using authentic components. This propane-powered beast shoots flames up to 6 feet with limitless customization options. I have an orange one. Your flamethrower can be as unique as you are. Pyromania meets playtime with Super Scorcher. Customize yours today and let the flames begin. Use code PYRO10 to get 10% off a flamethrower. Can I tell you, it's one of the best investments you'll ever make, okay? First of all, roasting marshmallows, okay? Creme brulee. Okay, maybe you have some weeds outside you need to deal with. Deal with those with the flamethrower in style. Also, the sickest thing, Henry, I went to Home Depot this weekend because I needed more propane for my flamethrower. And I was going and I was, looking down the aisle and I sent you guys a pic and there's a couple different things. But honestly, you can literally get a full propane tank for like $5 and then you're just reloaded. And I was like, dang. It's like, this is not that expensive, the initial investment of getting the flamethrower. But then I was like, yeah, sick. Because I was kind of thinking, I might have to spend like $10 or $15, on a new canister. I didn't realize, it's actually really cheap. And so you can just fire off your flamethrower whenever you want. And it's freaking awesome. So, pick one up today, tomorrow, Christmas, whatever. It's all good. What an ad read, huh? Okay.
We just actually 1 second, David.
Yeah.
It's 10 to 15 feet now for the range. With that modification I sent you.
So that's legal. Is that legal in California though?
No.
Okay,
California is not legal, but in every other state. Maryland, you can.
So if you're in California or Maryland, you can get a 6-foot flame. Anywhere
Maryland's
else in the country,
none at all at Maryland.
Oh, if you're in Maryland, we're sorry.
California, it's California. It's 10 feet. You can get 10 feet.
Oh, nice.
And I'm gonna launch a California compliant version of that.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Literally today I launched we added the option to add the service for us to increase the range on your Super Scorcher.
Do you have to let the California residents know that it can cause cancer?
Yeah, that's right here in the manual. It's
so
literally right there at the bottom on page 2.
Important information. I came home from Home Depot and I had a propane canister in my hand, and Katie just looks at me and she goes, when are you shooting off your flamethrower? And I'm like, don't worry about it, all right? I'm not gonna shoot it off. I think I was like, well, I'm not gonna shoot it off in the house, all right? She's like, well, when are you gonna use it? What are you doing? And I was like, don't worry about it, okay? Like she's like, I know what that's for. And what are you gonna use it for? And I'm like, I'm like, I have my plans. All right. It is.
What that's for.
I am figuring out because I've been like, oh, where am I going to shoot this off at? I have a couple locations though that, parking lots and such where it'll be safe and
Venice Beach.
I know the people. Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, there's so much fun, guys. If you can like save up the cash or you have
credit
cash
card
lying around or well, we're not sponsored by DraftKings. Otherwise, I would say go for it.
Xbox MasterCard. Put it on there. Earn some rewards points.
Earn some points. Win.
Yourself a $10 Xbox gift card.
Yeah. You know who's not winning is Star Wars Battlefront 2 fans. That franchise is cursed. You guys probably saw Actman put out a video, which his videos are always, for the most part, pretty great. And he just broke down how abysmal this franchise has been. And once again, I didn't know, and maybe I'm just not informed, but I didn't even realize that Aspire has a history of doing this. So it's even more egregious, the fact that for those of you maybe who are just tuning in this episode, Aspire is the company that they worked on the re-release of Star Wars Battlefront 2 Classic Collection, an old Xbox game. A lot of people have nostalgia for it. Anyways, they released it, and it's a dumpster fire. It doesn't have the same features. It is like not working properly and online. The PC version is just a mess, and there's audio issues and visual issues, and it's just a disaster all around. And I don't know what do you guys think? To me, I'm like, this is just looking like a straight up preying on fans' nostalgia and another like shameless cash grab. But am I out of line?
No, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I was talking to people on Reddit, and they were complaining about YouTubers complaining about it, and I was like, this one's pretty different. There's a lot of stuff here that just has no reason to have been screwed up the way it was,
Yeah. And to your point about compression that we keep talking about, it's so crazy to me that this was like, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but it's like a 7 gig game. And then so the original Xbox version was like 7 gigs. And then the now re-release, it looks exactly the same and it's just as bad, if not worse. And it's like, 50 gigs or whatever. I'm like, how do you even...
It's really, really bloated. Yeah. Because the original one fit on a DVD 9. So 2 versions of DVDs, you have, 4.7 gigs, and then that comes out to like, if you do dual layer, it's 9.5 gigs. So it has to fit on at least a 9.5 gig disc. That's the cap.
Yeah.
And it fit. So I don't know how it's bloated to the point. I don't know if it's a compression issue. I don't know if it's just bloated code. If like what they're doing, it could honestly just be very bloated development tools that cause it. But it's really insane, and I feel like it's because we don't have as many restrictions on storage capacity anymore that developers, not necessarily of the games, but even potentially of the development kits and everything else, don't take size of files into consideration anymore. It's no longer an issue of like, oh, we got to make sure it fits. It's like, just make it, who cares if it's bloated? We're going to like patch it anyway online. So, yeah.
Do you think there'll ever be a point where developers will care about that? Because we see noise of it, like especially Call of Duty and these other games where we're like, holy crap, dude, this is a 137 gig update. Do you think they're ever gonna will there ever get a point where consumers, we go, all right, that's too big. I don't want that?
So bloated code isn't just a video game issue, right? It's a thing that's just all over software. Um, you know, Microsoft especially is very guilty of it. Windows 11 and 10 are bloated to crap. But not even just counting like their bloatware, but the actual like code base on a lot of things is not streamlined, and there isn't as much of a drive to streamline it as much as there used to be, because if your actual source code is just larger, it doesn't matter really anymore because we have so much space typically available. So I don't know if it's ever going to get better. The thing about video games is it becomes much more apparent with gaming than it does with other things, even other forms of multimedia like streaming movies, right? Streaming 4K movies. Either you get like a reduced 4K quality, or you have like a massive stream. Like there's people that have a data cap, and when they stream in 4K, they realize they can't stream movies nearly as much because they're hitting their data caps. So it's not exclusive to video games. It just becomes much more apparent with video games. Because imagine launching Netflix and being told you have to download the movie and it's like 80 gigabytes.
Ugh.
It's like, what's the point then, right? So
yeah. I mean, this is just kind of the latest in current gen gaming. Release it and we'll fix it later. All we can do is just keep harping on people and tell them never to buy anything day one and wait.
Just for the record, I want to get this on the record. I told Micah, because we talked about it a week before the game came out, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's coming out! Oh, it's so awesome!" And I was like, "Yeah, it's so awesome." And then it dropped, and that night last week when we started seeing some of the bad reviews, and then like the next morning there was a whole host of things. I sent him a link. I said, "Hey, just so you know," because I knew he was like going to purchase, and it's like $35. And I log on to my Xbox later that night. Guess who's playing Battlefront 2? And I'm like, I tried. And then a couple days.
Was he playing Battlefront 2 or was he playing Battlefront Classic?
The Classic Collection. He bought He bought it, and
I know. Okay.
He was like, "Well, joke's on me. I tried to return it, and they wouldn't let me."
Oh gosh.
I'm like, well, I am holding out for hope, because you know how sometimes if there is enough backlash, they do process returns kind of later, just kind of one of those weird things. So I was like, well, I mean, you can keep trying. I thought that Xbox had a policy that if you have like under 10 hours of gameplay or some number, like, 8 hours of gameplay, you can just return it straight up.
There is like some kind of policy.
I thought there was, because I've returned a digital game before that I was like, oh, I don't like this, or I accidentally bought it or something, and it said like you can return it if it's like unplayed or less than 8 hours or something. So maybe that's
I'm looking
changed.
at it right now.
He said he couldn't return it.
Maybe he didn't do it right.
He might have not done it right, so this could be news.
User error.
It's right here on support.xbox.com. 14 days in which you haven't accumulated a significant amount of playtime.
Yeah, okay.
Digital games products may be eligible for refund within 30 days if you're unsatisfied with the license agreement or warranty, but only if you do not make or retain any copies.
There you go.
Submitting a request doesn't guarantee a refund. If it's approved, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
So, yeah, because he said that they got back to him and said he wasn't, like, approved. But he only put maybe a couple hours in. Like, he didn't even try and play online, I don't think. But you run that risk, I guess. I guess Halo Infinite got an update as well. I saw a little bit of buzz about that for the 6,000 people in the entire country who are still playing that game. Apparently desync is gone and it feels more like a Halo game, not taking damage around corners, which that, I'll be honest, that was a big beef of mine when playing it. I just hated being so far around a corner and dying. That was really really frustrating. And there's been some sandbox balancing changes, but also in typical Halo Infinite fashion, I did see people complaining who are outside the United States about how frame rates are like jumping high, low, and the game is very painful to play now. And Henry, you've said it a million times. When you're working with code, you fix one thing and then it breaks another 10 things. One step forward, 2 steps back. And I feel like that is the ultimate curse of Halo Infinite. Like, I really don't know if there's, and I'm not trying to be like doom or gloom with the way they built this game. I just don't know if there's any hope for it for this reason. Like, they fixed desync, but then everyone outside the United States can't play the game now. It's like, holy crap. Like, what? And that's got to be the most demoralizing thing for any like people working on a game. I mean, that's just, you can never win.
Yeah, network optimization is really tricky. It's a really, really tricky thing when you're developing anything, especially a video game. Like, fighting games were notoriously not played well online for that reason. For until relatively fairly recently, in the grand scheme of online gaming, fighting games were a lot harder to pull off because of sync issues and how frame perfect things have to be. It's a lot easier to predict how players move in an FPS, right? Versus because they'll be like holding forward, and they're going to be holding forward for X amount of frames, and so it's definitely tricky. I'm not sure what you could do to fix it stateside that would break it like overseas. I'm assuming though that's got to be something fairly simple. Simple, like something
I saw
overlooked.
Mint Blitz tweet about it, and so. But I also always take his stuff with a grain of salt, because it's like, dude, you're across the planet, bro. Like, you're gonna have a pretty different experience. It's not gonna be, you're gonna get probably one of the worst experiences out of everyone playing, even more than, Europe and whatever. But Halo Infinite continues to do exactly what it's been doing. Starfield also got an update 1.10.31 with over 500 fixes and improvements. And my question, John, and I don't know if you know the answer to this because you put together the run sheet, over 500 fixes and improvements to Starfield. Was one of those a fix or improvement to make the game not boring?
No, I don't think so.
No, you can express yourself in pose now in photo mode. That's an expression. You can
pose in photo mode.
You're not bored if you're expressing.
I read through a ton of the fixes, and they really were. I mean, the actual features added list was very short and not really all that meaningful. I mean, they let you, one of the new features was that you can open a door while using the scanner. Like, why is that a feature?
I hate
why
that.
Is that under the features section? But then, a lot of the fixes were, everything from graphical things to the UI to sound cues and blah, blah, blah. So you had stuff like fixed flickering textures found on Mars mech factory, or fixed white flickering dots that could occasionally appear on wet surfaces. So all this just very minor stuff. I guess it's all good and needed to be fixed, but more and more I'm just seeing Starfield as all right, just gonna wait for like the Game of the Year edition. It has all the DLC. So, a year later, when it's all just kind of finished and put together and in a complete package.
Because you played, what's that other game? The other space one where you go and harvest things. It's
No Man's Sky.
You played No Man's Sky like week 1, right? So,
Yeah.
in your opinion, because you've been through this, is this a No Man's Sky situation where we just sit back and say, okay, let's just give this a couple years and it's going to be fire? Because I like the idea and the vibe and the look and the feel of Starfield. But again, I tried playing it and it just didn't do anything for me. So is this a No Man's Sky situation, you think? Because you saw what happened with that game and now you really enjoyed No Man's Sky now.
Yeah. Well, Starfield's definitely more of a complete game and experience than No Man's Sky was at release. Like Starfield, you can play through a story, a campaign, there's characters, all of this stuff. No Man's Sky, when it launched, was a very minimal experience. It was almost like just like a space simulator with the kind of awe and wonder of it all was that you could fly through space, land on a planet, and you would never know what you would run into, what animal, what creatures, whatever. But there was like almost
because it was all procedurally generated.
It was all procedurally generated, right? So it was all just like a big mystery. So no one really knew what the game was or what you were supposed to do, even at launch. So that was kind of the questions leading up to is like, okay, but like, what is the game? Like, what do you do? And then, because we're seeing all these kind of trailers and videos of them like mining and scanning animals and plants and things, and then the game launched and it's like, oh, that's it. That's all you do is just mine and scan, and that's it.
Mine
and just
and
explore. So in that way, Starfield's definitely more of a complete experience for sure. And I only played No Man's Sky when it first launched for, maybe 15 to 20 hours. I can maybe check on Steam because I played it on PC when it first came out. And then it was a long while after played it on Xbox. Played like the Xbox release of it. And they added, tons and tons of content, free content. So, but No Man's Sky right now is more fun than Starfield was for me. So I guess it's just all of the tediousness of Starfield that really gets to me, all of the loading screens and menus, and I'm just really tired of spending time in menus and games these days. So the more that I can not be in a menu, the better.
That's fair.
Yeah, I would say with Starfield, I was expecting to be able to just like cruise through space, see a planet, and land on it. But that's not how it works. It is done through the menus. I'm barely actually in my driving my spaceships ever when I played Starfield. So that was disappointing. I think the biggest thing that makes it boring to people is that the planet design is the exact opposite of No Man's Sky. Because No Man's Sky, everything is procedurally generated. You don't know what there's weird alien animals and other stuff all going on, versus everything in Starfield is very deliberate on the planets, but a lot of the planets are incredibly barren. And I've mentioned it before, that's what they were going for, is this extreme sense of isolation. Because a lot of the planets, they're just desolate planets where there's remnants of stuff that used to be there, right? Because it shows that everybody's kind of focused onto very specific social societies in space now, and you're supposed to be on the fringes. But does that translate well into a video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the thing. They had I see what they were going for. I understand the tone, and I get it, but as a game, I also fully understand why that doesn't appeal to a lot of people, right? There is a lot less. There's a lot of just like getting and just walking through nothing and occasionally killing some weird stuff and harvesting stuff out of there. And yeah.
I just opened up Steam, so it looks like I played 35 hours of No Man's Sky back in 2016 when it came out. So I gave it a good shot. Played it a decent amount.
Yeah. Game Pass. Can we talk about Game Pass? Because I think Game Pass, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it started in 2017, right? June 2017. And I wasn't a believer in Game Pass. I might be on the record somewhere saying that. But I wasn't a full believer in Game Pass partially because not a lot of the games interested me, and the ones that did, I probably already owned, right? So some of the big ones that are like really great, I already bought them anyways. However, I think Game Pass is aging like fine wine, and it's getting better and better. And with the things happening in the industry and some of the moves that Xbox is making, I'm starting to like it a lot more. The Quarry is a prime example of that, a game that came out last year. I had a lot of FOMO, and then I said, you know what? I'm just going to pause. I'm not going to let FOMO get the best of me. And now here we are, probably less than a year later. And it's coming to Game Pass, and I'm going to get to play it. And that's pretty great. Along with 9 new games releasing in the next couple weeks. Evil West, Diablo 4, Hot Wheels. Oh, Super Hot? Nice. I didn't even realize that. Ark
Is that the
Survival.
same Super Hot? Like that was on Game Pass before.
Oh, it's a mind-controlled Elite, so I'm assuming it's like another, maybe
Yeah.
it's
It's
a
a
full
sequel-ish.
Sequel-ish.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was double checking because I knew the original one was on there at one point.
Yeah.
That's where I played it.
What excites you, John, about the Game Pass editions in this next month? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I was watched some gameplay of Evil West. That looks right up my alley. Something I want to play. Just a pure, straight up action game. Super gory, killing vampires in the Wild West. I mean, I don't need much more than that to like get me to play a game. So, yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, the Quarry, again, like I said, was one that I wanted to try. I didn't, but now I'm going to be able to. It's like a story type game where you play as just a character. It's like these 9 teenagers who are trapped in a cabin, and it's like kind of like a horror game. And so you like walk around the area in the cabin, and you kind of put together clues, and obviously there's people getting picked off left and right and all this stuff. But I just love the quality. And then we talked even about like control and everything. There's just like I feel like better games coming to Game Pass. Like it's just getting better. And with the Activision thing, right? Like,
yeah, so that's big with Diablo 4.
Big.
Coming to Game Pass. So I really want to see some more Blizzard games come to Game Pass or get ported to Xbox or something like that. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But Henry, did you play the first Hot Wheels Unleashed game?
Yep, I own the like definitive edition or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I have a question.
I really, really liked it. Yeah, what's up?
I have a question. Who is like the target demographic, would you say, for this game? Because I was watching I think it was like a trailer for it, and it seemed like a pretty complicated if I'm like thinking it's like a kid's game.
Yeah, I would say it's not exactly easy. It is game where there's a lot of like very fine control that has to happen for your driving your car. It's all about like it's almost like just a drift racer. It's really fun, but you like drift and you build up your boost and you're basically just boosting the entire time and having to manage that, right? You're like you have like it's not just like it's not Mario Kart. We just like hold A and go.
Right.
You won't win. Yeah. So I was really engaged with it.
The trailer I saw, you know, it had like a whole like skill tree that you could fill out as you leveled up and, you know, added these different abilities and things. And then there's like multiple different terrains. And so different vehicles perform better on different terrains. And it's like going through all of this stuff. I'm like, wait, I thought this was like a children's game, but like, no, it seems like it's not really at all.
Right. It's like it's kid friendly. The first one is, right?
Yeah.
Until you go to the custom cars, people of course just fill with inappropriate crap because it's a kid's game and a lot of like Nazi cars and
nice.
It doesn't seem like they do a good job of like monitoring that because there's a ton of them.
God.
It's like Call of Duty when they used to let you do like custom gun colors and stuff.
Yeah. Like I remember it was Advanced Warfare. You could like design your like sticker
Nazi
to put on your gun. There's a ton of Nazi cars in Hot Wheels Unleashed. It's a disturbing amount.
Wow.
And like what's crazy is like it's the custom car designer is not easy to use. It's not like it's like a variety of shapes and layers. And like I remember I did my own version of the initial D car, the Trueno, and to like write the Japanese writing on it, I'm having to like do various stickers of like here's a crescent moon, I'll use that for like a curve, here's like a line, here's another line, and having to like do it little bit by bit. It's crazy. So that when people are putting like the Nazi eagle and like a swastika and other crap on, I'm like, the time and dedication you're putting in to like put a Nazi car in a children's game is but I am looking forward to the second one, to the second game, quite a bit because, you know, like they added like monster trucks to the first one, like this guy here, Bone Shaker. I got this little one literally right next to me. They added a bunch of monster trucks to the Hot Wheels Unleashed 1. But there's no real point because you're mostly on Hot Wheels tracks.
Right, and that's different in this and 2. They said that's going to be different.
Mm-hmm. And there's day 1, they're showing that monster trucks are in this one also, including Bigfoot. So they actually got the license for like monster trucks that aren't just owned by Hot Wheels. So that's exciting to me, honestly.
The comment that killed me and made me start questioning who this game was for was somebody commented, hopefully Hot Wheels 2 is better balanced than 1.
Yeah,
like,
there's a handful of cars that take that are just like top tier, and you can customize their stats and stuff. And no, I played it online a lot. I have 4 days. I just checked on my stats. I have like almost 4 days of like gameplay on that game. it gets very intense, and there was a
well, it sounds intense if there's Nazi flags on the Hot Wheels cars.
There's like it's very, very like just white knuckle racing. And like it's really fun. Like, and you're on Hot Wheels tracks, but they're wider than the real tracks, right? Like real tracks are like just wide enough for one car. These are like wide enough that you can actually like go. But there is a player outside of the Nazi cars. There's like a very large amount of player generated content, including tracks, and so those tracks are just also mixed into the rotation of races when you play online. So there's a lot there, and so they have a pretty good community for the tracks, at least.
It sounds like there's some communities
of children,
there.
Of kids, or
I don't think they're mostly kids actually designing the tracks, because a lot of the custom player generated tracks are definitely harder than the stuff that was shipped with the game. Almost like you know, like when have people make mods for Super Mario and then suddenly it's like brutally difficult, and people will make racetracks like that a lot. So
right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I cannot get over those cars. That's so crazy. Rated E for eugenics. Yeah. So Hot Wheels, huh? Disclaimer to parents: if you're getting Hot Wheels for your kids, just make sure they don't go in any online lobbies. Because I mean, if they could do that,
never let your
then
kids
they could
play online.
they could do like pretty much anything. Oh man, that's wild. That's wild. The game you were talking about, John, Evil West. So IGN did a review of the game, and you know, we don't expect a lot from IGN. However, they were kind of getting cooked by gamers this week because they gave it a poor review. But it looks like the reason for the poor review was just like they were just saying, like, basically it's a video game. And so we have a quote here. They said, each level has a clear start and endpoint with collectibles sprinkled along the way, broken up by throngs of enemies that assail you until you get a dialogue break during the next cutscene. The crux of your adventure is walking from one fight to the next and eventually capping missions off with a boss battle. And they're getting cooked because people are like, you're just describing a game being a video game. That's what a video game is. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. It's really reminded me of that one viral video of that gaming journalist that couldn't play the tutorial of Cuphead. And they posted that, and it was just like really, really painful to watch. Or the Polygon article where the guy was using the VR game playing hot dogs and hand grenades, and he just went on this like crazy anti-gun like rant while playing this like VR game where you're shooting a gun, and it's supposed to be very realistic with like the loading mechanism and everything. And him talking about how like frightening and horrifying the sound of like pulling the trigger is, and others. It's like, you shouldn't be playing this game then. Give it to someone that knows.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not even to like, you know, boost the score or anything. Just like, if you don't like video games, then don't play it. Like, don't send in a sports reviewer to, you know, review an action shooter or something. Like, I just don't.
It sounds like they're going to complain you have to push buttons and move the joystick.
Right. It's just not, you know, you could say it's boring, but like, that's what they're writing is not, it's boring. They're just describing what you're doing. This is so many video games. Mm-hmm. Like, this is literally Baldur's Gate 3. So what
it's
are we
literally
even?
everything.
What are we talking about? Like a clear start and end point. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, they give you missions and it's like, yeah, go here. I don't know. It just is. It just seems very. I agree with all these comments that people are leaving.
Yeah, and I think now more than ever, people are wanting just a straightforward lineal experience. Something that they can play, that they can beat and finish in 10 to 15 hours, and not have to view it as another job or as chores that they have to complete, but just buy a game, play it, beat it, and be done with it. And some, for a lot of us, games are a form of just like relaxation and escape, and to be transported to another world and experience something that we can't in the real world. And so diving into a game like Evil West, where you're a cowboy in the Wild West killing vampires, like, we want to experience crazy different things like that and be able to play it for a couple hours, beat a few levels, put it down, and then just go on with the rest of our evening. Not we've been just harping on this for weeks and weeks now, but like, we don't need every game to be a huge open world or a live service. And I appreciate a developer that'll put out a game like this, because it just shows, it's just like, it's like a passion project. They wanted to make something fun and crazy. And like, if you watch the reviewer has nothing but amazing things to say about the actual gameplay, the combat, the locales, the maps, the graphics, the scenery, all of that stuff is like great. But he's like, but you're just going from one end to the other, killing things. Like, that's it. So
How old is he? How old is this man?
I don't know.
I want age. I want names, because that's literally like, yeah. That to me feels like a Gen Z gamer complaining. Like, that feels so. That just feels like such a Gen Z comment. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, sorry, it's not Fortnite. Like, what are we talking about here? This comment said, not every game needs to be open world. Linear games are easy to digest after a long day at work.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yep, I agree.
I concur.
Yeah, in fairness, it doesn't look like this person has reviewed anything at IGN since December 2022, and this was his second to last review. So,
I
don't know if this has anything to do with it whatsoever. But
yeah, David Jagnow.
Yeah,
Interesting. Huh. Well,
things make you go,
Yeah. Yeah, Evil West it's on Game Pass. So that's what I love, right? A 12-hour linear campaign is a perfect Game Pass game. Like, I don't necessarily want to buy that, but I want to try it. And if I like it, I want to beat it and then not have to worry about like being $40 out or $35 or $60 or $70. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, I'd be more open to buying it if I was getting a physical copy that worked offline. But
sure,
for these current gen games, it's like, I don't even know if there is a physical release of Evil West. But
yeah, who knows? Cool. Well, lots of cool things. Game Pass and Xbox happening. Anything else for the good of the pod? Any thoughts, comments, quotes, concerns?
I did see kind of is it a rumor? Is it a leak? I don't know.
I love rumors and leaks. Feed me.
Let me see if I can find it. In Korea, a dev kit for the next Xbox was released, or
Henry just dropped
New
a picture
Xbox
of
dev kit certified for testing in South Korea. Yeah, I dropped a picture of
a Nazi
somebody's Nazi car. That's not even the most egregious one I've seen. I've seen significantly worse.
That's so crazy. It's just weird seeing it on a Hot Wheel too. It's so crazy.
Because there's like some car, it looks kind of like this one, right? And they just made it look like Hitler's like whatever car he had. I forget what it was.
His Mercedes.
Yeah.
Wait, so what's this about the dev kit? There's a new Xbox
Xbox dev kit certified for testing in South Korea. Console refresh could be coming this year.
So under the laws in Korea, all electronic devices in Korea must be certified by the National Radio Research Agency that there is no risk of harming the radio wave environment. Without getting certified, you can't use the device in Korea. So
they sent
got
one over
certified through
certified.
this agency.
You think that's the all digital that they're dropping that we saw in the FTC leaks? Probably.
Yeah, we don't know if it's the next gen Xbox or maybe the mid gen refresh. It could be either one of those, but it's definitely showing that at least the Series X and S aren't the final and very last consoles made by Microsoft.
Yeah. Still in the console game. Still in that hardware game, baby. All right, well, we'll talk more on that next week if any more details come out. But other than that, leave a comment if you made it this far. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you're listening on Spotify, rate it 5 stars. Rate the pod 5 stars. It helps out a ton. If you're watching on YouTube, also, please just go on Spotify on your computer. Find FTW for the Win Xbox podcast and rate it 5 stars. It's going to just help us. I just want to be the best Xbox podcast on Spotify. And it's actually not hard to do because there's not many. So, yeah, cool. All right, guys. Great pod. See you next week, huh?
GG's.
GG's.